Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. I was a last-minute add-on. I am here in place of Chief Cedillo Pereira, who could not make it at the last minute, but on behalf of her and the City of Dallas, we want to thank Yearbook and its corporate partners and community partners for the work you do to literally change the lives of Dallas residents. So what is the Office of Resilience? What do I do? It's a $1 million question because most days I don't know either, but I'm going to try and explain it. So I'm in charge of implementing the Resilient Dallas strategy. In 2018, Council adopted the Resilient Dallas strategy after a 2-year planning process. We got funding from the Rockefeller Foundation to join 100 other cities across the globe to develop a strategy that would address shocks such as natural disasters, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes for us here, and long-term stresses like generational poverty and housing shortages. So the plan has 7 goals: equity, welcoming cities, this is a test, right? Welcoming cities, economic mobility, equitable access for transportation, healthy communities, neighborhood infrastructure, and environmental sustainability. Yes. After 6 months, I finally got it. And I think it's serendipitous that I'm here in place of Chief Cedillo Pereira because, like I said, one of our 7 goals is economic mobility. And so that means a big part of the work I do, along with the Office of Economic Development and Office of Community Care, is to strategically deploy city resources by cultivating relationships and partnerships to address economic mobility and upward mobility for Dallas residents. Programs like Yearbook are essential to addressing the opportunity divide because it gets to the critical issue of equity. Growing up, all that was pushed to me, the messaging that was pushed to me was that you have to go to a 4-year college. That was the norm for my generation, and I think it still is, but what Yearbook does is it turns that messaging on its head and says, no, you don't need to go to a traditional 4-year college immediately. Because let me tell you, I spent countless hours in ancient history to learn what? Who won the Peloponnesian War, which I still don't know. I know it was fought between Athens and Sparta. So if you ever use that in like trivia, game night or whatever, please let me know so I can call my undergrad and say, thank you for that information. Someone will actually use it. But I can attest to the benefits of programs like Yearbook because my own brother went through a similar program. He chose not to go the traditional route and needed to find his own way to find his own voice. And today he is pursuing a college degree, but he started out in a program like Yearbook and found exactly what he wants to do with his life and his career. And so that helps when you come from communities of color that don't have the privilege of access and opportunity to immediately go into a 4-year college. I am saddled with a lot of student debt, let me tell you, and I work as a public servant. So I told my brother, you don't have to go to a 4-year college. That is up to you. And he chose to go to programs like Yearbook, and I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful for programs like Yearbook for giving him direction in his life. And so it's not to say that general education 4-year colleges are not important, but like I said, not everybody has the privilege of access and opportunity to immediately go into one. It took me 8 years to complete my bachelor's degree because when I turned 20, I became the primary caregiver and guardian for my brother. There was no way I was going to go to school full-time and be the caregiver of a freshman in high school. Yeah, I don't know why I don't have only white hair today, because, yeah. So, like I said, I'm going off script. I was thrown a wrench when I got here, so just bear with me. Yes, so Yearbook and similar organizations exist to fill a gap in the community. Like I said, by turning the traditional model on its head and saying, no, you don't need to go to a four-year college. The opportunity divide won't be bridged overnight, but our continued efforts will get us to a state where the divide no longer exists, and inequitable economic opportunity and upward mobility is no longer a thing. Understanding that workforce development is a complicated system of private, public, nonprofit, and community stakeholders, I want to take a moment of personal privilege to highlight the work that my office is doing to ensure that equity continues to be at the forefront of conversation when we discuss workforce development. Within the city, my office recently led the internal analysis of our workforce development and supportive services contracts to ensure alignment between the Office of Economic Development and Office of Community Care and Office of Homeless Solutions. You can't work in silos when you're trying to make sure people are trying to get to jobs to training and not have the supportive services of transportation, childcare, rent assistance, that type of stuff. And so now we're working towards making sure that our program outcomes are aligned, program measures and outcomes are aligned. We're also working with local organizations like Dallas Center for Arts and Technology to reduce barriers to access in workforce development by co-locating services so people don't have the transportation barrier, the daycare barrier, and focusing on Southern Dallas. And finally, I hope I don't embarrass her, Yearbook's DFW's very own Dana Townsend. Where is she? Yes, there she is. So Dana and I are in the first ever Dallas Economic Opportunity Leadership Academy. And so the purpose of the Academy is to bring together leaders with differing perspectives to strategize on applying the principles that underlie effective workforce strategies locally. So when you think about the different minds in the room, nonprofits, private sector, community stakeholders, business owners, it takes a lot to really bring forth the different things that make a workforce development system work. And that is the crazy work that we are doing. And so, big ups to Dana and myself too for actually getting into the Academy. So it takes a lot of work. And so this is just a small fraction of what is happening related to workforce development for my office. And this demonstrates the collective effort it takes to close the gap in terms of inequity for the people of Dallas. And so I know I've gone over time and gone off script. I want to thank you guys so much for your time, and thank you to Yearbook for having me.